Welcome to a Trekzone conversation. Matt Miller with you at Trekzone HQ. Lee Sargent is back for the first time in a little while to talk Trek. Today, we're going to dive into the state of Star Trek.
Beaming around the world across Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts and YouTube. This is the 8th season of a Trekzone conversation with Matt Miller.
Lee, welcome back to Trekzone, my friend, from your new digs in the bottom of Australia.
That's right. Yes, it is. It's been that long, hasn't it? I think the last time we did this, I had very, very dodgy internet, and I think I may have even been in quarantine.
That's right. I think it was the Picard show that we
exactly.
That we did
wow.
from quarantine.
Yeah.
That's right. You just started quarantine.
I'm all out and safe and at the bottom of Australia. So, it's been it's definitely been an amazing journey. So, and here we are talking another show. I mean, this is amazing that the sheer volume of content coming out right now. I remember when we only had 5 shows.
That's exactly right. And we were, it was going to be a defined mini-series of shows talking about Star Trek. Obviously, we had a few things happening, but it was an overall of the show, and that was it. And now Alex Kurtzman and his team are coming out with, I think it's 8 shows in various stages of production.
Yeah, they're really making it's an interesting concept because they are making a huge sprint to get stuff going, and I think that's. I don't know if I necessarily see the wisdom in all of it. I think that I still don't see a unified vision for what they're trying to do with Star Trek. It's not like Star Wars or something, and that's not. People have been comparing Star Wars to Star Trek for ever since they came out, and it's generally not a fair comparison. But I think Star Wars had its own trip-ups with its films, and now is really kind of looking inwards on itself and saying, what do we do, almost in a plan. Maybe Marvel is a better juggernaut to compare this to, because they really have a plan, and they're executing it well and doing very, very well with it.
It really seems like this is what's happening now. We had the expansion through the 90s and 2000s where everyone was syndicating their content. They were distributing it to everywhere. Netflix became a big thing because of that. Here in Australia, Stan and a few other streaming services.
Yeah.
And then you've sort of come to this point now, even before COVID, where they've sort of gone, hang on, we could be making more money with our own product and having our own streaming services. And the biggest thing that I've found,
I
know
where this is going.
Well, the biggest thing that I found is that something more valuable than money is people's information. It really seems, and then that's some of the information that I've seen in my work. I've talked about that on the show in the past, so we know that I'm a cameraman for a television network, and one of the big key points was the thing that we can make the most money out of is people's information to the advertisers, and that's not about breaching privacy, I should declare. It's about having that information, of having me as a 33-year-old male who likes science fiction, being able to specifically target ads to me. That is really valuable to advertisers. So, but also, like I say, it's not about selling my information. It's about using my information to target ads to me, and that's really valuable.
You've got to think about, and this is where it gets nefarious. Now, obviously, my industry is marketing, so sold the cell a very long time ago. Evil industry. But so you think about it in this way too. Netflix can tell when you turn a TV show off. They can tell when you pause something. They can tell you. They know everything about your viewing habit because it's all there. Now, if you're watching on a smart device, there's even more little tricks and stuff that they can do there. And if you're a real conspiracy nut, if you really want to get into it, companies like Google, who just bought Fitbit, so now Google.
Oh, really?
Technically, yeah, they have. So because that was a big hole in their market. Now they've assured everyone they're not going to use Fitbit information for
Bullshit.
marketing. Yeah. So you
Sorry,
imagine,
I had a tickle in my throat.
I know, exactly. So imagine I'm sitting watching The Expanse or something like that with my heart monitor sitting on my wrist, which is, my continuous, information flowing, and you see my heart rate increases as I watch The Expanse, or it decreases when I watch something, or blah blah blah. You start to see how horrifyingly accurate they could get with the advertising, knowing full well that maybe see back in the 80s, you and I remember Pepsi cans and Coke cans being clearly angled to the screen to make sure you can see them. For a newer, exactly, a newer generation would be Coronas in Fast and the Furious. They don't even try and hide that. That's you can have any beer you want, but it has to be a Corona. That's a line. It's crazy. Subtlety's gone out the window. But what they do is, so it's a matter of, and they would see kind of, a show would be on and it featured Pepsi or Coke, and then sales would go up. Now they don't even have to wait for that information. They can see that happening, people talking about stuff. Now, if you are, so say I'm watching a show on Netflix and I pause it and I'm gone for 15 minutes, lots of information can be surmised from that. Maybe I went to the bathroom, so maybe that's when I chose that the show wasn't very interesting, so I decided to go to the bathroom. Or maybe, I don't know the psychology of it, so there would be a room of boffins who would work this out. But you could also infer from the scene beforehand, if they were eating or drinking or they were doing something or blah, 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 you can correlate all the data. As what I'm saying is you can map people out very, very easily now with the technology we've got. So now you've got these kind of larger companies who are all stepping into their own networks. And back in the day, the networks were blind really, except for Nielsen ratings. So I don't know what UPN had when they first started. They would have just had, did UPN have subscribers or just viewers? I'm not really sure what the US setup was.
Yeah, no, it was just viewers, and it was and the network was only available in a limited number of homes, which is part of the reason that Enterprise and Voyager to a certain degree didn't rate.
Well, that's it. So basically you're flying blind there. And again, I liken this to the internet. Back in the day when blogs first started, back 20 something years ago, you post your blog post, you sit there and you had a little GIF sitting in the corner with numbers on it. And if you hit refresh, that number went up. So if you were particularly narcissistic, you would hit refresh a lot of times. But the thing is, it didn't tell you anything about the person who was there. And then as with Web 2.0, for a horrible term, came in, you started learning more about the people who were actually looking and were they spending more time on there? How were they interacting with your data? So today, if I post something online, I've got a pretty good idea if I've hit the niche market that I'm looking for. People would say, in the past, how do I know I have a successful website? Well, you get lots of visits. It's like, yeah, but you get 400,000 visits from no one who wants to buy your product. Today, we've got a lot of metrics that will actually tell you that you only get 80 people a month, but those 80 people are the only people in the world who are actually interested in your product, like who will ever only be interested in your product. You've nailed your market. You have 100% coverage. So TV, back in the day, back when we were kind of growing up with it, didn't have the information they had. And then Twitter came out, and you went from, so I remember this was a Star Trek 2009 film. They did not, particularly in Australia, they did not expect that to do any money. They did not expect anything from that. I remember that being in Brisbane at South Bank Cinemas. They put it in one cinema. It wasn't, they didn't even put it in multiple, and I think they had like 2 or 3 showings a day originally. Well, what happened was day one sold out, completely sold out. I know because I went to the 2 showings. And instead of waiting for box office receipts to come in, you could track it on Twitter and see the response live. People walking out of cinemas, hopefully walking out of the cinema, not doing it while they're sitting there watching it, saying, "Oh my God, the new Star Trek film is really, really good," or "It's really, it's a lot of fun," or "It's blah blah blah." / go back a week before that when the Wolverine film came out, which was a disaster. What happened was, again, they were, okay, what are the box offices going to be after 3 or 4 days? Well, they didn't have to wait for that. They knew in the first 12 hours that people either hated it or what they liked about it or what they didn't like about it. And as soon as they realized that, oh, okay, we got a bit of people are mocking it, people are kind of going, oh, that's so awful, but at least the fight scenes are good. All the advertising for the Wolverine film changed almost overnight to focus on the fights, get people into the thing that is showing. So the reason why I'm telling the story is you see the difference in the nuance of how we know we've got something successful. And now companies like CBS have gone, well, we don't want to give that data to someone else. We have infrastructure and we have shows. Why don't we create our own streaming service, and then we can get that information straight away, and then we know what the ads are going to be, and we know how to sell it, and blah blah blah. And so then that's the problem where we're going through right now. There's a period where every man and his dog is setting up a new streaming service. I think NBC's got one coming. They're calling it, is it the Peacock one or something? Is it the terrible
Peacock,
name?
Yes.
Yep. Everyone wants to have their own. They don't want to share. And this will peak, and then we'll consolidate again, and some single entities will rise out from the ashes and have everything. So right now we're in a situation where CBS has All Access, and even though they have an All Access channel in Australia that you can purchase, they've decided not to put their latest Star Trek offerings onto that channel yet. And I know why they haven't done it. The cynical person in me says they can't make money out of it because all they're doing is selling subscriptions. But I think it's a shame.
I think that the main thing here with 10 All Access is that I firmly believe that they underestimate the Australian audience, the Australian fans of Star Trek.
I think 100%. If you were to take Star Trek, and I know they can't do it, lock, stock, and barrel straight away. But if you were to give me the assurance that 10 All Access now, and for anyone who's not listening here in Australia or hasn't even heard of 10 Access, which is probably people here in Australia, 10 Access is when I had it, I literally was getting charged by CBS America for the subscription fee. So it is literally them. It's
absolutely. When you ring tech support, you actually go through. It's an Australian number, but you actually get diverted through to the American call center.
So we're not talking about a separate entity, a separate setup. We're talking about this is theirs. So they have that, and if they were to say, oh look, this is going to be your one-stop shop for Star Trek and any other sci-fi we can get our hands on and stuff like that. Great, that's your selling point, but they haven't sold anything at this stage. Like don't even know if I've seen ads for it. I got it because I'm a big Survivor fan and I wanted to watch the first season of Survivor again.
It's a really interesting case study, and it's really interesting. I do want to be careful in what I say, but I understand. Yes. There is, and I'm not going to go into that. People that are long-time viewers of the channel know exactly why I'm hesitant to say anything. But the biggest thing with it, you look at it and you go, well, you've got this access. They clearly want a worldwide deal or rest of the world deal for the Star Trek shows that are coming up, and that's why they didn't just put it on All Access here in Australia.
Yeah, because they want cash. Yeah, they want cash back. Yeah.
But then on the other side of the coin, you have them saying that we're relaunching CBS All Access. 10 All Access is involved in that relaunch coming at the start of 2021. They're focusing on the Nordic countries, Latin America, and Australia first up. So it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes. And if this platform, if they're going to get rid of the 10 All Access branding, get rid of the CBS branding as well, and have its own platform under the CBS umbrella, or the Viacom CBS umbrella, then they're going to be going for the world. They're going to be on the world stage like Netflix and the other places. So perhaps this is another reason, they're saying, and they're trying to calm the international audience by saying, look, we're trying to work on a deal, but things kind of happen and we brought Lower Decks above Discovery in the release schedule or whatever else it might be. They've done this, and I do wonder whether they're holding off until February. But and we should eventually get on to talking about Lower Decks. But
we will.
But
I think you don't make money by doing this way, and that's the thing. And I think we saw this in the UK with Disney with The Mandalorian. They missed. The Mandalorian was a lot of missed opportunities because they never expected it to be as big as it was, which was crazy. You only had to look at the Yoda puppet once and go, "This is going to make money." But then they made the UK audience wait, which was crazy. And I kind of think in today's day and age, you can't do that. And I think the excuses that we've been given by CBS are garbage. I think that if they wanted to make deals, they could have made deals. I think they were holding out for money. I don't think it's strategic because I don't think that I honestly think that they think their core market for this was the US, and it probably is. So in fairness to it, Star Trek, I don't know how Star Trek, my impression was Star Trek has never necessarily been a huge money spinner outside of the US, unlike other kind of franchises which can actually ride off the rest of the country, the rest of the world and fail in the US. I believe, personally, my understanding was that in the US, Star Trek really, that's where it shines and makes its money. It's a grim reminder that this is a business, that it's not an art, that they say they love the fans, but the reality is that that love is probably one way. We love their show. They would, sell us to whoever they had to, and that's the thing. You're not dealing with individuals. You're dealing with corporations here, and their idea is that they need to make money in order to make these shows, and that's the reality. And I think you've talked about this many times on fan films and stuff like that. There's a reality behind the business side of things, and you have to kind of bow to that. And I can kind of flail my arms and go, they don't love us and all this type of stuff. And it's like, well, no, they don't. Don't be silly. It's like saying, any company doesn't. It's like saying the bank's your friend. It's not. They need to make you feel that way in order for you to want to go there. So, but they produce the end product, and this is where the means justify the end. The means justify the ends. No, the ends justify the means. We'll get that right eventually. The end product is you get something in return for this. So we've got X amount of years of Star Trek out of this, and you kind of go, well, that's why I think it's interesting when people kind of get very arced up about, how dare you do this to my Star Trek? It's like, well, it's not your Star Trek.
Exactly.
It's their Star Trek, and you should learn that very quickly, and you should take what you will and what you don't like. You need to brush that off and just go, yeah, that's cool. That's whatever type of thing. I still love my Deep Space Nine, or I still love my Voyager, and that's all I love, and I don't care. But yeah,
there's a whole universe. There's a whole. I'm just letting you go.
Monologues with Lee. Monologues with Lee. That's what you should call it. It's not Trek Conversations.
There's a new show.
Well, we haven't done this for a while. So that's the thing.
No, we haven't, and it's covering off everything. And I think you're right in that. And what I've said, and I've maintained for this whole duration, we're now up to episode 5, just released on Thursday. So I've maintained this whole thing that we can't. And I'm trying to rack my brain whether I've said this from the beginning or whether I've started saying it, because making it more true that we can't legally see this show outside of the US. There are some grey areas there that we're not going to go into, and we're not going to give suggestions or recommendations on ways to watch the show if you're outside of the US or Canada, because even despite everything, even despite me sitting here and bashing the keyboard on Twitter and saying this isn't fair and we're missing out, and CBS publicity telling me that it's coming, it'll be coming, and it's sitting over there and we can't say anything else because you're overseas and we're in America. as you say, it's a business. That's what's going to happen. I do really think at this point, and you also touched on it there as well, Lee, that they're in it to make money, and Star Trek isn't the money spinner in the rest of the world to justify.
I just don't think it is. Yeah.
To justify the cost of production, and I think that's clear in Netflix passing on Picard. I can honestly see, with the amount of data that Netflix collects from you, that they honestly saw something in Discovery that gave them some cold shoulders, some cold feet with Picard.
I think because the story originally was that they wanted to make a Star Trek show. Netflix was very keen to pick up the property, but then they did the next best thing. They took up the international distribution rights and slapped the Netflix logo on it. But they didn't, they paid for it, but they didn't really have anything to do with it. There's no creative control there or anything like that. Not that Netflix expresses that much creative control anyway, but they tend to be able to say, hey, here's a bag of money, go away and do something. We don't care what you do. We just, but what'll happen is we'll be cutthroat when you come back. So the deal is never, we're signed up for 6 years of content from you, unless you're Adam Sandler, but everything that kind of comes out, they kind of go, well, oh God, here we go again. This isn't going to do well. Thanks very much, Adam Sandler. We're not going to renew that contract. We made a mistake. Thanks very much, Adam Sandler. But with Discovery, it kind of came out, and look, it is what it is. And I think what Netflix would have done was potentially, I don't think it would have made a second season if Netflix itself had been in charge of it. Because I'm looking at Altered Carbon right now. Altered Carbon was one of the best science fiction shows to come out of kind of this whole new era. And the first season was exceptional. There's not even a question. They went, yep, we're going to do a second season because they had the data of people watching it. Second season came out. They knew within a week or 2 weeks, we're not going to do another season of this. It's just not. The balance isn't there. The cost of producing Altered Carbon, which is huge, doesn't offset retaining subscribers to Netflix and getting them to watch it. Whereas another show like I'm being completely hooked on it's not sci-fi, but Teenage Bounty Hunters. Holy crap, that is one of the best shows. And I'm watching going, this is amazing. I have no idea why this is amazing, and what it has no right to be amazing on pieces of paper. And then I was reading online. It's just like, Netflix already knows. It's all right. Everyone calm down about the second season. It's fine. Netflix already knows. It's a massive runaway hit. So what happens is, they're able to be more cutthroat with these things, whereas they weren't able to with Discovery. So then Picard comes along. It's like, well, we're not getting in bed with that because we're not convinced that you have a product that is going to light the world on fire. And so then Amazon took it on, and then, and I don't know how it went on Amazon. There was a lot of hype around it, but I know there are videos out there. There are videos out there which talk about the audience dropping off by more than 50% or whatever type of stuff. And I don't know. You can't. I don't know if you put credit in that. I don't know if that's a real thing. I know I certainly lagged at the end of Picard. I don't think that I still don't think that they've hit that winning formula yet. I think they've got great characters. They just haven't hit that perfect. They haven't hit the Westworld kind of story arc telling. Like I watched the last season's Westworld, and I don't know. I don't even know what people were thinking of that. I got the impression that wasn't as favorable as the first 2 seasons. I loved season 3. I thought it was, again, this very, very well done origami pack of, story of just it's unfolding. And then I'm watching Watchmen right now, and it's unfolding really well. And I just don't find that with Discovery or Picard yet, that they just haven't hit that magic formula.
I think an indication of Picard's retention is the fact that the last 4 episodes of Picard's first season still haven't been reviewed or screen capped on Trekzone. I haven't.
Oh, wow. There you go.
I just lost the interest. I watched
Can't
the
be
show.
asked. Can't be asked. How's your rating?
Well, I mean, like I watched the show each week and enjoyed it.
I don't know Americans. That's a term that we use here in Australia. Can't be asked. I don't know if that's an American thing. It just means that he can't be asked.
Can't be bothered. Can't
be
bothered.
The point? What's the point? Can't be asked. I mean, I don't know. I'm not even sure whether or not, because this is also the current era of television show is. There's a thing called I'm not even sure what the term is, but it's like network. It's like Netflix filler. Lost in Space is a great example of that. Great show, love it. Really great reimagining of the show. But there are about 4 or 5 episodes that you could take out the back and not let them back in, because I was going to say you can shoot them, but that sounds really awful now. They're not. They're padding episodes out. They're padding to get a certain length of show, which is optimal for Netflix, like 14 episodes or something, where it's only really a 10-episode show. And I think the UK model has been fantastic for that, where they just go, you know what, this has got 8 episodes in it. It's fantastic. Every episode's a winner. And here you go. IT crowd, stuff like that. It's like, yep, 8 episodes done. What an awesome storyline. The Office.
Doctor Who seems to be doing that to a certain degree as well.
Yeah, Doctor Who, expensive show to make. Do you skimp on the budgets, or do you just bring it back down to 10 episodes? I'd rather than bring it back down to 10 episodes. I'm always reminded of Firefly, 14 episodes of perfect television.
I still haven't seen Firefly.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's crazy. You'll give this Trek stuff up and become a brown coat. Now we've got to talk about the show, so otherwise, because we're going to run out of time.
Well, it's really interesting, Lee, because on the fly here, I've decided to split this up into a 2-parter because we've been chatting for about 26, 27 minutes now, just on, because as you say, we haven't...
The state of Trek,
because we haven't caught up in a while. So this is still talking Trek, but it's the state of Trek. It's where it's at, and CBS
Excellent.
really
So since we're doing that, I got a whole other monologue then for you.
Well, we are on the basic plan of Zoom, so you've only got another 11 minutes.
That's all good, people. So it's like the Twitter of podcasts.
It absolutely is. But yeah, I mean, this is the thing, and it really seems to me that given the fact that CBS, and the cynic in me wants to say, and no, I'm not joining those other channels, but the cynic in me wants to say...
Ominous music.
The cynic in me wants to say that CBS has burnt through 2 worldwide streaming platforms in Netflix and Amazon with Discovery and Picard, and now they've come to their 3rd show and no one wants it. Or the optimist in me says they've decided not to do anything with it and to wait for their worldwide release and rebranding of All Access, which in itself is stupid because no one's going to be around internationally in 6 months' time when All Access gets rebranded and released to the world.
I think that so you had Discovery and a bunch of people bought it and Netflix bought it. They put it out. And then they watch the reviews, or they watch not the reviews so much. The reviews I don't give a huge amount of credit to. And again, I'm not one of those people. I'm not on one of those video channels. But I think it's a valid point. That I think it's pretty clear there's a massive disconnect between the media reviews and then organisations like your own, where it's a bit more grassroots, and it's a bit more, there's a bit more passion, and there's a bit more. You've got a bit more in the fight as far as reviewing these things. And I think, in fairness, and then I think that also flips the other way. There are other Star Trek channels that give.
That's about all you can say.
I'm just trying to pick. I'm trying to pick my words very carefully because I like these channels too. I feel that they give too many free passes to too many problems, and they don't give a proper review of things. So it's like, oh, it's amazing, it's amazing, it's amazing. It's like, no, it's not. No, you can't say there's amazing things in it, and it's so good seeing new Star Trek. But this isn't, again, and I don't mean to beat this, but this isn't Breaking Bad. This isn't Westworld. This isn't, must-see TV. This isn't Lost. Lost became a cultural phenomenon. And as much as you want to kind of pick at it at the end of it, its ending sucked or whatever. It's like, yeah, but it was what they used to call water cooler television.
Yeah.
Has Discovery stepped over that line? No. Did The Mandalorian? Yes. The Mandalorian is your blueprint for any franchise that wants to do well from here on in. It's bring it back to simplicity, get quality filmmakers and writers who have a vision, a coherent vision. Don't get the business involved. Let them do let them tell their story, and let them bring it back to simplicity. When you look at Mandalorian, that is a simple story. It is a very simple story, and it unfolds very beautifully. It's paced well. It's all that type of stuff. You got some of the best people working on that right now. Are you telling me you couldn't get good quality people? And this is not throwing shade at the people who are making Star Trek right now, but are we saying that these are the best in the business right now, or are these the most visionary people in the business? I know that 2 former Survivor contestants are writing episodes of Star Trek.
Oh, are they really?
They are, because they were on one of the Survivor reunions and they asked them and they went, yeah, we're writing Star Trek episodes now. And it's like, what? Not that they're not, maybe they're great writers. I don't know. That's not necessarily fair. But I asked it on Twitter the other day. I said, it's not an Alex Kurtzman bashing session, because I'm so sick of that.
Yeah.
But who would you love to see a Star Trek from? Because this has been very much the Tarantino kind of thing coming out. They're saying Tarantino's a very talented filmmaker. Say what you will about his choices of content. His cinematography is amazing. I would love to see him shoot the Enterprise, cinematography-wise, gorgeous. If he took it seriously and he did it properly, be amazing. I would have loved to have had a Michael Crichton written Star Trek episode. There was a whole bunch of episodes of ER which were directed by Tarantino and written by Stephen King and stuff like that, where it's like, wouldn't that be amazing? And Star Trek's such a cultural phenomenon that you could get this going. I just don't feel that they've got a vision that the other franchises have, and they're not great at telling these this big arc storylines. Even Star Wars animated, and I know you're a fan of Star Wars animated. That stuff's fantastic.
I used to pay out on the Redback Garrison of the 501st Squad because the only TV show they had was an animated show. Then I actually sat down and watched it and went, this is awesome. And Disney reacted with The Mandalorian. Disney reacted to the fans loving this new style. Disney seemed to, for a while there, want to ignore the prequels and say they never existed in the way that they were carrying on. And then they saw the fan reaction and they went, you know what? Have another season of the Clone Wars. And holy crap. That's the way to do it.
Unbelievably good. Ahsoka Tano is my favorite character in Star Wars, which is insane. If you asked me that when the movie came out, I would have gone, you're kidding, this Snips character? No. But he's a grown man bawling his eyes out at the end of Rebels. It's not even a thing. I so love that show. I want that for Star Trek.
Here's a grown man that went to a pet shop, bought a beagle puppy at 10 weeks old and named her Ahsoka. So
and here you are with a show which has got a beagle in it, in your first love. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Where Star Trek has gone right now is this disconnect of just going, why can't we just be better? Marvel did this. Marvel went through Thor 1, interesting. Kenneth Branagh came on, did something interesting. Everyone went, yeah, okay, Chris Hemsworth is amazing. Take his shirt off anytime that he wants. I'm a heterosexual male. I'll watch Chris Hemsworth being charming, walking around.
I'll play the washboard.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Throw that coffee cup down. I'll watch that. Thor 2, not good. Terrible film. Really not good. Missed every mark. And they went, we need to change directions. And they did. They fixed the problem. And then they brought out Thor 3. And it's like, holy crap, there's a whole new world of me looking forward to Thor films. And I just feel that at this stage, and this is not old Trek going, because you know what? Star Trek has never been that good. And this sounds terrible. It is. I love it. I love it today. It's my first love. I love it more than Star Wars. I love it. But I have never, ever, ever been able to go, this is an Academy Award winning film. This is a series that will convert you. It will knock your socks off. I've never been able to say that. I've said, hey, look, if you watch enough Star Trek Next Generation, you'll start to love it as you would a family member. And that's good, and that's great, and that's really wholesome and wonderful, and I love that in my heart. But I've never been able to go, you know what? You can't miss this show because it will blow your mind. Altered Carbon, I could say that. And I just think that they need to find that magic because it is such a great property. So good. So, yeah. How many minutes have I got left on the clock?
You have 2.5 minutes. We're going to wrap it up very shortly with final thoughts here. But I think you're right. And I think I don't think you're right. I know you're right. And you've hit the nail on the head there again as well for me, that you're right. It's a show that I don't want to miss, but I can miss. It's there. Yeah. I don't sit down. I'm not like some people that sit down and watch it every other week. It's actually been the last time I watched The Next Generation was when I was doing the episode reviews for Trekzone, and that was 2017. So it's been about 3 years since I've actually sat down and watched more than the odd episode of The Next Generation or of any of the shows. I've got on my whiteboard here a list of things to do, which includes HD caps of Enterprise Season 2, 3 and 4. I just can't, or I haven't brought myself to do it yet. I'm a little bit busy in the real world as well, but it's sort of there. It's not must see. Oh wow, I've got that to do. Oh, I'm gonna just not do this other thing and do that.
I think Picard's a better example for that for you because it's like the fact that you haven't kind of reviewed the last couple of episodes. It's like it's not that pressing because what's there to say?
Yeah.
Whereas with Breaking Bad, it was the episode The Fly, and everyone's talking about how it was made and just everything about it. They were just talking about it. And this is a film. This is a show about a meth dealing ex-science teacher. This shouldn't necessarily be on the forefront of everyone's mind, but it was. And that's the magic that you need to find, I think, from Star Trek. We need to throw off and I think we have thrown off the loser in the basement kind of thing. I don't think that's there anymore, but also the quality's not there yet.
Absolutely. Well, Lee, on the next Trekzone conversation, we're going to dive into Lower Decks, something we'd planned to do this episode, but the state of Trek was far more pressing. Lee, fill up that coffee because we're going to talk Lower Decks on the next episode.
Looking forward to it.